have Amber, Scrob, and Dengzo joined up from that X-Heroic Academy roster, but Few is no longer here, and Stom 4K also dropped from the squad. You have Nukai and Griller instead, and I believe this might be Nukai's first match with the first official anyway with the squad, and indeed it is. Griller too, yeah, Griller as well. So actually they got 2 new pieces. First time they're going to be playing here in this group stage. It's going to be, I wasn't actually aware of that until we got into it here, guys, because I was looking at the roster and I thought they were going to be using 4 of the 5 players, with 1 coming in from outside the squad being Few, but he's not here. Unless the names are different, which happened before on other BO3s that we've casted, where the names listed that they submit are not the same as the ones they play in game with, but we'll have to wait and see if that's the case. Looking purely at the ratings, I think that you're going to be looking towards probably, I'm going to say Dengzo as the one to really start fragging out. The thing is, like, the players that they don't have anymore, Few, Damkilde, and Few and Stom 4K were the ones hitting the top ratings, right? 1.14 rating for Stom 4K in 11 maps played since they were dropped by Heroic, and Few with a 1.07 rating. So I'm curious to see if Griller and Nukai can kind of fill those gaps. It's, I'm sure, not going to be easy for them, assuming they're new pieces. Again, we'll see once we get into the server. All right, let's look at the veto here and see which maps we're going to be going to. We have Inferno picked by the Mousquetaires, which makes sense. This is a map they pick 42.9% of the time. Although they haven't had the wins they'd like to have on a map that they're picking into this often, 2 and 4 on the map. And you look over at X-Heroic Academy, don't actually play Inferno that much. They don't even have any officials on Inferno since they were switched over to X-Heroic Academy. Obviously, they've got that new name that's coming through for them, but either way. Then they picked into Train. So that is a map that they do have a win on, 1-0. One against Mix, 13-10 recently. So that's probably going to be an interesting one for them, especially considering that Mousquetaires haven't necessarily had that much success there. And then if we need it, we end up on Nuke, which is common ground for both teams, both 2-1 over the last 3 months. And I think that will get interesting should we arrive to that point. I think the question becomes, mechanically, can this X-Heroic Academy keep up with the Mousquetaires? Because that was the issue in that previous BO3. But that's a question we'll have to wait to answer once we get into the server, of course. Let's check out the head-to-head. I believe we should have it. If we don't, we'll let you know. Yeah, we got it. Griller over the last 3 months, and yeah, this is kind of what I was expecting. Griller being a fragger coming through here with a 1.13 rating over the last 3 months, and Jax on the other side has been very effective for this squad. 1.10 rating. I think that goes back to his time even when they were playing on foot. But if you look at just the X foot days as well, still at the top at 1.06 rating over the 23 maps they played since they departed from the organization. So there's a lot going on here. That's positive. Drac and Sixer also very effective in terms of putting up the numbers. So I feel like overall you've got a pretty structured team on the Mousquetaires that can make a lot of noise and can really make people turn some heads, at least in the group stage, right? So this is a team that we kind of expect to get past the group stage and get into the play-ins, which they did last time, right? In CCT Europe Series number 7, they got a 2-0 in the group stage, went to the play-in stage, and lost 0-2 to Khan by a score of 5-13 on both Inferno and Ancient, which I think is unfortunate because I'd like to see this team tested, into the Swiss stage beyond this play-in. But, they'll have to prove themselves here in this first matchup. All right. Well, looks like we're still waiting for everyone to get into the server, folks. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll jump right into the action. All right, we're into the action here. Ex-Heroic Academy, now known as ALGO, up against the Mousquetaires, who used to be FOOT. So a couple of teams that were dropped from their old organizations, trying to make a name for themselves. We do have Nukai, excuse me. Nukai, can't speak. We're going to get a couple here, and back and forth we go. Jack's the last one standing for Mousquetaires as ALGO are looking to kick things off with a round victory. Just a note that we do have another substitution coming in. It is in place of Sixer. We've got Rain 7 on the side of Mousquetaires. So no Sixer, and Rain 7 is into the mix. Don't have any details on him in particular, folks. So we'll see how he does in the spot of a player or Sixer who's been pretty good, honestly, for the Mousquetaires over the last 3 months. Jackson a 1v3. Griller, Dengzo, and Scrob trying to hang on to this bomb site in the bomb. And I mean, it feels like Jax doesn't really have a path back into this round. He does not. Dengzo takes care of him, and that will do it. ALGO are first on the board. And just checking out Griller's stats here. Interesting. Okay, so I see what's happened. ALGO, an existing organization that picked up the ex-Heroic Academy players. It was actually Amber, Dengzo, and Scrob that were the ones that were grabbed forward, and the other two were not continuing on. And they've kept Nukai along with Griller. Nukai being the veteran at 27 years old. That's an interesting change here. Curious how that's going to go. Nukai's rating actually pretty good over the last 3 months. 1.10, not too shabby. Acquitting himself well over 13 maps played. And we already talked about Griller's stats before we got into the action here. He's also been important for that ALGO squad. Anyway, a couple of shots being fired here. Looks like arch side control trying to be gained by the Mousquetaires, but they're getting rebuffed. Oh, Scrob pulls out the dualies and says, okay, that's going to have to do the job. He runs out of bullets in the A1S. Now gets the reload off. And this force buy finally yields a frag for the Mousquetaires. Maybe another one. Oh, Amber survives the dink and then gets the frag onto Rain. That's Rain 240 or Rain 7, whichever one you want to call him. It is not Rain from FaZe. It's a different Rain, folks. Nukai is going to get fragged by Devoduvek, and Drak finds Dengzo. Amber having to stand up here on the site to get one, and Griller supports him onto Devoduvek. So that one actually gets interesting for a moment, and it's actually quite costly on the side of ALGO. They lose 3 guns and have to reinvest. The thing is, for the Mousquetaires, that was their force buy, so you'd be shocked to see another force buy come through after it, even though sometimes teams do opt for that, but mostly after a bomb plant, right? If you're on T side and you get 3 frags on the CTs because they're limited in economy, then you can try to punish, but you need that extra $600 to justify it, to get, you know, maybe some Galils in the mix. But they don't have that, so, you know, we will still see an investment here, but it's a half buy. Oh, Dengzo can get overloaded. No, he won't. Devoduvek is gone. And it will be Amber taking care of Rain 240 and Jax. Tarky and Drak. Last 2 standing. Bomb in the control of ALGO. We've got a pretty uneventful BO3 so far between these 2 squads. Just sit back and wait for the Mousquetaires to likely go to their deaths. Drak's got full health. He's got a Tech 9, head full of steam. But he's been spotted. Oh, nice swing onto Nukai. He gets one. Maybe he can get the second here with a nicely placed shot to the head. But eventually, you know, they're not going to allow him to do that. They know the bomb is under their control. They find Tarky trying to sneak up from mid. And now Drax's going to have to win the fight straight up. 24 seconds left. Grabs the MP9 off the ground. Knows he has to die before time. And yes, he will get one at the very least as a parting gift. But Scrob will take care of the trade. Amber with a 3K. And ALGO have 3 on the board. And you're going to see here, I mean, there was maybe the opportunity for Debodubek to overrun that player towards Banana, but he just doesn't ever get the proper angle on him to deal a significant amount of damage. And while you do have a little bit done on the tail end by Drac, it's just, you know, a parting gift, like I said. Sure, you force ALGO down to below 1K for 2 players, and you keep their economy honest, but they're going to need to get some rounds on the board here. They're already down by a scoreline of 3-0. Look at this aggression from Dengzo, and he gets punished off of it. Great trade from Griller, who's going to try spamming the smoke further. Connects for a little bit onto Debodubek. The thing is, that's important for ALGO, because they win that utility battle towards Banana and gain Banana control. They don't know it, because they've backed off of it, but they're going to continue just tossing a little bit more util down there. One flashbang goes forward. And they're making the full rotation back towards this A site, which is the correct call for now. Assuming that Mousquetaires continue their pathing in this direction. Not a guarantee. That's the one thing about Inferno, is the T's can rotate very quickly back and forth between the A site and the B site. So just because they're here at the bottom of, top of mid right now, doesn't mean they're not going to be bottom mid in a moment's notice. Still have the util to execute on either side here, at least with the smokes. Griller waits in library. Ooh, gets clipped on the shoulder. It's forced back. And a little bit of miscomms there in terms of the util usage. 2 smokes dedicated to Arch. That means they won't have any smokes to go towards the A side, and that's going to cost them. Nukai delivers a couple of frags. ALGO now a 4v2 and a 4v1. It's over. Nukai, a quad kill to shut things down. Ah, man, just imagine if they had used that smoke a little more appropriately, thrown it towards the site, maybe a pit smoke to guise that off or something. But instead, Nukai is allowed to, from mini pit, get that quad kill. Just flicking his crosshair around back and forth. And the Mousquetaires are back onto the pistols. It's going to be a half by Tech 9s and armor. Good amount of utility. See if they try going back to Banana, but that smoke is right on the money for ALGO towards bottom Banana, so Mousquetaires will not be able to advance, or if they want to, they'll have to push through that smoke. Couple of nades being tossed forward by ALGO. I haven't seen too much on the side of the Mousquetaires. You have to be wondering if they're missing Sixer. Again, don't know the reason why Sixer is not playing today. Don't have any information there. The veteran, 34 years of age, but still putting up the numbers. He's the opper for the squad usually, so you lose your opper. That's not necessarily a good thing. On Inferno, it won't matter that much T side. Rain 240 does get that frag onto Amber. Scrob looking for the trade, and he'll find it. Mousquetaires did grab an A1S off the ground, and they're going to fade away from mid. And towards Banana. This is a good read if they go fast. And, well, actually, I say that. But even if they did go fast, ALGO are waiting. They're already making their rotation. Smoking to get tossed in for CT. Could yield a bomb plant. Would be their first bomb plant of the map. If they get it. Dengzo trying to deny that. Swings around, only gets one. The bomb does get planted, but it'll be in vain, at least in terms of a round victory. Griller gets the 3K, cleans out the site all by his lonesome. And I'll go find a 5th. But at the very least, that's an additional $600 added to a loss bonus of $3,400, which means 4K into the bank accounts. And a full buy-up as a result for the Mousquetaires, based on the fact that that was also an eco round for them. All right, well, got all the util, you got the AKs. Let's see if the Mousquetaires can crack the scoreboard here. This is their pick, folks. And just looking, I mean, not sure how relevant it'll be, but we'll look at the ALGO stats on Inferno. And, you know, just this is specifically, excuse me, for Nukai and Griller, they are 2-2 on Inferno, so they're pretty strong on it. I mean, at least they've had their moments, right? And Griller's going to get that opener onto Devo Duvek. Yeah, back on September 6th, the ALGO squad got a 13-11 win against Sky Fury. We're just talking about advanced level play, though, so it's not necessarily, you know, something we can use as a comparison point against the Mousquetaires. But still, I mean, you know, Griller's sitting at 6-1, and Nukai at 6-3, leading the scoreboard. Aside from Amber, who's at the top with 8. All right, here we go. Mousquetaires trying to get in towards this B site. Range 240, manages to get an opener onto Griller, and he gets the follow-up on Denzo. It cost him a decent chunk of HP, and now the utility's raining on forward. There's still an incendiary in Amber's hands. Scrob trying to come up. Banana. Drac hiding at car. Reinforcements in the form of rain. Health is low, so the rifles can do a ton of damage very quickly on the side of ALGO. Spot there for Amber. There's one. Drac does manage to get the trade on Scrop, so the Opera can't do anything, but you still got 2 riflers. This 2v3 is very precarious. Amber finds the second one, moves into the site. Nukai helps him on the Jax. They're watching the right spot. Drac will hit that shot. Amber forced to take the fight and wins it. Has time for the defusal as well, and ALGO will win a 6th. Right down to the very wire. The Mousquetaires fight tooth and nail, but they cannot get the round under their belts. 6-0 for ALGO. And that's a really nice entry path for 240, right? I mean, he gets a couple there, opens up the space for his squad. They find Scrob. The Opera, the biggest problem, as I already mentioned, was the low health bars. 3 players for the Mousquetaires below 50 HP, and that means that you're ripe for the picking up against any rifle. You know, whether it be the M4 or the AK, and both of those doing the damage on the side of ALGO. They don't manage to recover that AK and bring it into this round, but that doesn't really matter. They do call a timeout to talk things over, saying, okay, what happened to our B defense? How did we lose that? They still won the round, so probably just trying to tighten up their protocols. And Rain 7, no surprise here, as he's replacing an Opper. He will be opping. Mousquetaires. Oh my goodness, that utility damage is ridiculous. They do get the opener on the side of Mousquetaires, but they eat like 1-2 nades, right? You see Rain down to 19. Again, 3 other players hovering around the half health mark, so those rifles could do a lot of damage, but oh no, Amber's disconnected. They lost Amber. Jacks the headshot through the smoke. That's the round. I mean, oh, that's so unfortunate for ALGO. That utility damage was so good down Banana. You'd think if Amber's still in the server, I think that they'd still have a very good chance here. But because they disconnected, they have to call it off. The op and the A1S, too important to just throw away. Even though they have a good amount of economy built up, you don't want to sacrifice it. It can disappear very quickly on your defensive end. But it will be a first-round victory for the Mousquetaires, and I don't want to put an asterisk on it, but I mean, I kind of have to with the fact that Amber was disconnected from the server, but I don't want to take away from what the Mousquetaires achieved there. A nice entry, that spam through the smoke, look at this. I mean, that's just a good boost, and Griller gets caught off guard, and then this from Jax. I mean, he's just spamming a common angle, and he connects on a headshot. As that happens, Amber disconnects. He's back in the server already. But just really unfortunate for ALGO that they couldn't fight forward, which they would have liked to, because I think Amber was right next to Jax in that instance. He is usually playing towards the B site. Probably could have justified an attempted retake. There's the util again. This time the Mousquetaires are wise to it and will not push up through into banana. Jax waiting in window room as the Mousquetaires are hoping to build off of their round victory and put together a few in a row. Looking at their results on Inferno as Drac does get that frag onto Nukai, then Devo Duvek finds Scrob. Mousquetaires showing huge signs of life now. B site completely lost. And you've got two players lurking towards A to try and catch rotations. This is a very, very nice setup for the Mousquetaires. And, I mean, there's just nothing ALGO can do to fight forward. This round's done. Toast. Griller. We'll try to save, but he won't expect this lurk. And there you go. Drac taking care of business with Devo Duvek. 4 frags combined, and the Mousquetaires do indeed find 2 in a row. Money's run out for most of the players here on ALGO, so you're likely going to see a half buy coming through. Was going to say for the Mousquetaires, results recently have been good. On Inferno, winning 2 of their last 3 up against Square Sausages and Prestige, but lost to Con. That was the important one, right? Against Con when they were trying to fight to get into the Swiss stage of EU Series number 7. And then prior to that, losing to Alliance twice, pretty one-sided scoreline in both those occasions, and AAB, same thing. So Inferno is a map they're trying to get better results on. So far, it hasn't been great in the first 6 rounds, but a little bit of fortune in round number 7, and then a nice execute overall in round 8. Gives them a couple in a row and forces ALGO onto not even a half buy. I mean, yes, you got the armor purchased up by Dengzo, but that's it. You know, you got upgraded pistols and smoke from Griller. Scrub pushed on through the smoke, and Jax will get a freebie. As Scrub looks the wrong way at the wrong time. Probably would have been dead either way with that USP in his hands. Utility toss onto the stacked bomb site. This could potentially get interesting. Assuming the bomb actually heads in this direction. Oh, okay, Amber. Nice shot onto Tarky. Yeah, they're going to fade off. There's no way. They have so much space gained towards the A site that this is going to be a guaranteed plant unless ALGO can come through and throw a wrench into their plans. Dengzo did manage to recover the AK, and he is the one with the armor, so that's actually a bit of a problem for the Mousquetaires, assuming that ALGO tries for the retake. I imagine they'll give it a look here, because there's not much to save on 3 of the 4 players. But could just play for exits, and looks like that's what they're going to favor. Not a bad strat, right? Just wait for the exits, hope you can get some frags and upgrade your rifles. Or at least do damage to an economy that's really starting to get a nice little runway for the Mousquetaires. Drac will find Amber. And Dengzo's out of there. Yeah, it's just these 2 players trying to charge onto the bomb site and make life difficult for Rain 240. There's an op. I don't think it can be saved. Yeah, they're both dead. Griller and Nukai desperately trying to get away from that explosion in towards the corner of Pit, but they didn't have enough health and it didn't happen for them. Would have been great to get the AWP, but not going to be available to them, at least not to save over. Nukai can buy it and drop it for Scrob, which is exactly what's going to happen here. ALGO call the timeout, their second of this half, because they're staring down the scoreline and saying, okay, it was 6-0, now 3-6. We had control, lost a little bit of it. Maybe the disconnect from Amber, giving the Mousquetaires that momentum. Sometimes you have situations that are out of your control. You gotta just look past them. Keep on trucking. Alright, we're underway again. Timeout's over. Molotov gonna get tossed for top banana. Dengzo sees the smoke line right at his feet, pushes up, gets the opener, tries to flick around and find the follow-up. Won't do it, but he keeps the Mousquetaires from gaining any further space up banana. Smoke break, but there's another one beyond it. So they don't see a single thing. Nukai, in the meantime, wins his duel with Drac. That was into the apartments. Amber swings from library, and look at the momentum here that ALGO are trying to swing in this round. I mean, just the adaptability and the movement they're pulling off is fantastic. Dengzo gets the headshot on the Rain 240. They are not standing still, constantly on the move. And in some ways, that is the key to success in Counter-Strike 2. Devo Duvek gets spotted out. We'll get this frag, but still has 3 more players to worry about. Bomb on his back. Grabs an AK off the ground. I mean, now they know where he's going because he's throwing that smoke in towards church. So we'll see if he can win either a duel or get a bomb plant here. Griller's not watching the site. He's waiting towards banana and watching CT instead, CT cross. We'll hear that bomb being planted, so now I just feel like peeking at this point is not a good idea without the spacing being there for a trade. And he won't. He just holds the angle. That's the best play he could have made. And he gets the frag onto Devo Duvek, while just waiting for his teammates to arrive. There you go. Good patience. And a 7-3 lead for ALGO, who end that little mini round win streak that Mousquetaires were able to pull off. I mean, overall, just purely looking at the numbers, you've got, Drac and Devo Duvek, I would say, that are the 2 pieces that are activating for Mousquetaires. And you saw Devo Duvek with a couple of nice openers on banana. But outside of that, it's quiet for that squad versus ALGO of Amber, Griller, Nukai, all 3 of those players playing well. Scrob hasn't really been asked much of, but when he is, he's hitting his op shots. You don't have to look very far to understand why the Mousquetaires are not having any success so far on their map pick. Ooh, maybe a miscommunication there as Rain holding the angle with this, or maybe he's just willing to take half health of damage to get visibility. I mean, Opper doesn't need full health, but still, that's a lot of damage to take just from your own nades to break through that smoke. I mean, at least information gained, but that's the type of risk you want to take and have some kind of reward or a frag off of, and they get nothing. Alright, Mousquetaires going to take the space into bracket. Griller's holding from Arch. Decides to play more passively. I like the idea here, because one person might get by him, then he'll have a chance to activate. Amber strikes. Does get traded from Moto. Griller's going to move through the smoke. Gets one and the second before. No, he doesn't even get traded. Rain's not in position to do it. And Griller will get a 3K. Nukai finds the one before that. And ALGO in full control here of this first half of action. 8-3, even if the Mousquetaires win this one. You'd think that, I just understand, you'd think that ALGO will have the edge. I thought he was going to be traded there. I thought they had more presence, and I mean, they did have their Opera nearby, but for whatever reason, he had doubled back, and you only have 2 players pushing up past the angle, and the third is no longer in the vicinity. So instead of being potentially an easy trade against Griller, he gets 3. Pushing through the smoke. I mean, yes, there was a flash around it, but still. Devo Duvek. Top of banana. He's had some success here before and just holds mouse 1. It's actually Tarky who gets that frag. Devo Duvek, the distraction, so to speak. Dengzo spams through the smoke for 2 before he gets traded. That'll even up the numbers. Allow the rotation to come through for ALGO. No choice, the last round of the half, so they have to go for it. Scrob, ooh, doesn't really get that spot, and he loses his teammate. But through the smoke, connects on it. A little bit of fortune going his way. Flashbang gonna get tossed. Both players coming from the same angle, which could be a problem. Scrob on the op, not an ideal weapon for a 2v2 retake. But that's what he's gonna stick with. Bomb ticking down. They have to get a move on soon. Here comes New Guy, gets the first, and nothing happening afterwards. Tarky with the 2K and gets the 1v2 clutch. Scrob tried to swing around that corner with the deagle, and it didn't do the job, nor did the rifle from mid-range. Mousquetaires at least salvage one round, or I should say one more round out of that half to get up to 4. Even that one got close, though. But it gives them something to work with as they head over to the defensive side, which arguably is the favorite side in Inferno, but this is a map that's so balanced, it's hard to pick a favorite side. I mean, you see a lot of 6-6s and 7-5s coming through on Inferno, so in fact, ALGO going into the second half with an 8-4 lead is pretty nice. All right, we're getting ready for round number 13, the first round of the second half. And yeah, I mean, what's interesting, of course, is that Heroic Academy, anywhere ex-Heroic Academy, didn't play Inferno really at all. I think it ended up being their perma for a certain period of time, at least over the last 3 months. So, you know, the experience you're going to get from this ALGO side is from purely Nukai and Griller. And they have looked comfortable. Contributions from Amber as well. More than contributions, leading the scoreboard. I imagine Dengzo is still calling here for this squad. But maybe it's one of Nukai or Griller, which would make sense as well, perhaps. Anyway, Nukai going to get a couple here in response to the one that Mousquetaires got onto Scrob. $50 seconds left. Mousquetaires have a player pushed down in towards T-spawn. This could be interesting on a flank that likely won't be expected. They are watching for it now because you can stop a player push down mid, and yeah, doesn't do anything. Drac eliminated. 4v2, and now after finding that frag, they say, nope, let's go A. We're going to go all the way towards that A site and have a free bomb plant. At least that's what they think. Devo Duvek's still waiting here. Excuse me, Jack's still waiting here. And Jax will get one, but only one. That's not enough. Devo Duvek, the dualies, in a 1v3 recovery with no kit in his hands. You have to wonder if maybe he'll just save the armor for the force buy in the following. The answer to that is no. He wants to go for it, and you can't blame him. It's just a pistol round. Vez get the first onto Amber. Oh, look at that nade damage. Devo Duvek taken down to 32 HP. A much softer target for those Glocks, even though he's still firing away. Hits the gush onto Griller. And eventually takes one of his own. Griller will find Devo Duvek's grill and get the 3K on the board. ALGO are 9-4 up now. Started with a nice shot from the Mousquetaires, but in the end, it is going to be ALGO recovering handily, and that's largely in part thanks to Griller's quick 2K in response. All right, there's that force buy we talked about. Mousquetaires, 4 MP9s and the 5.7. Oh my goodness, Devo Duvek going into the line of fire, and actually ends up being enough to keep ALGO at bay. They don't want to really engage too much off of that. Firepower advantage in ALGO's favor. But we've seen many a time before when these MP9s can be more than enough to win a round. Even though they were nerfed, they're still very potent. Maybe a little less so at long range and for those spray downs, but if you got a good control of the burst, It is very good. And you can still go for spray transfers up close, of course. They're taking their time. Nice swing coming through on the side of Mousquetaires. They get 3 and only 2 in response for ALGO. Guns on the ground. Nukai just trying to make some noise here and keep them away from what would be an AK and a Galil. They do manage to recover those 2 rifles. Settle the round down enough to rotate towards that B site. They're going to throw one more smoke to keep the Mousquetaires on A, you'd imagine. Oh no, they're going to go for it. I don't know about that, Amber. Yeah, he's dead. Nukai now at least knows where 2 of the players are, but he has to go and try and recover the bomb. Smoke going to get tossed. They're trying to play ahead of it, and they tag him down to 76, and now 30 through the smoke. Nukai going to grab the bomb, but it's too late, Nukai. All you can do is save the gun. Mousquetaires, the force buy, and as mentioned, that MP9, it can be very potent, and Drax shows why. A 3K in his favor. They will grab a couple of Galils off the ground. But ALGO, while it looked like the right decision was to rotate towards the B site, they decide against it, go right back into the stacked A site, and pay the price. You'd imagine they're going to force up off of that and start the force buy wars, and that is exactly the case. AK that was saved over is the big piece, and everyone else is on the pistols with some util available to them. Smoke sails in there for Mousquetaires. There is a player moving up banana on the side of ALGO. I believe that's Amber, yeah. He's hoping to catch off an over-aggressive CT with a deagle headshot. Devo Duvek doesn't want to overstay his welcome, so goes back into cover, but that'll allow ALGO to gain the space. He won't expect to be this close, but the flashbang gives him the cover he needs to get a couple. Does get traded out, but gives his team the man advantage. If they press the issue now, though, ALGO could get onto the site if they find Tarky cleanly. They won't do that, though. Tarky gets 1, the second as well, and it's only Griller left. A 6th round feels like almost a guarantee for the Mousquetaires, because they're flanking out Griller as well. Griller has been very good, so he could win this duel. But I don't know if he has the time to get the win in the duel and find a bomb plant. At this stage, just wants to get aggressive and take a fight. Where is Jax is the question because, well, bomb plant doesn't matter anymore. He won't be able to do that. And he gets the frag. So that's it. Round's over for the 2nd round in a row. ALGO do not step foot on a bomb site and are just happy to save a rifle. This time they won't be able to force up around it. It's going to be a full eco. There is not any money at all to be pushed into this round. Griller, 650, right? Because he's saving the Galil. Just look at it as a hero Galil. That's it. That's the way you have to frame it in your minds if you're ALGO. And sure, you still got a 9-6 lead, but the Mousquetaires starting to look pretty decent. And looking purely at the numbers for the Mousquetaires here, on CT side, they win 51% of their rounds. The majority of their rounds come on the defensive end. Their T side is actually kind of rough, and they got the 4 rounds, which is actually typical according to the percentage they brought forward into this matchup. 36.8% of their T rounds are wins. Not much. But it has been enough for them to get victory in 2 of the last 3. We can't forget that. Okay, I did say that ALGO would not force buy, but they are force buying. They decided to go for it. It's going to be full armor and pistols. Util is very, very light. On a map like Inferno, this is not nearly enough. So it's going to have to be a lot of duels, just one straight up, if ALGO want to have a chance of victory here. Can't say I'm a fan, but so far so good. Nukai is going to get the opener on terrain 240. Does get traded by Jax, but that'll keep attention towards the A site, and that's not the only piece that went to A. You have Scrob there too. He's clearing out all the space into CT. Amber sees the player in new box. Has the information. Tarky waiting in the shadows. Debuduvek trying to bait and switch. Tarky pressures on for him. Realize that Scrob is closing the gap. Does take care of that. And then swings around to find Dengzo. He does lose his teammate on the B site, but he's done enough damage to keep things very precarious for Algo, let's say. I mean, that being said, there's still two players on his side that are quite low. Drac, the one being engaged with, he was the full HP player. Luckily for the Mousquetaires. The Griller gets Tarky. And then Jax will strike onto Amber. It's all up to Griller. 17 frags so far! And make it 19 now as he clutches out the 1v2 and is 1 away from 20. Brings the round back for Algo. The force buy does pay off. Wow. It is the second day in a row that I've seen a force buy like that come through and work out for a squad. It's not something that you'll always call, but circumstantial. Given the fact that they were competitive in all of the rounds prior, they say, okay, let's try and do it here. And the Mousquetaires, they're going to force up as well. Right on back. They got 3 MP9s, probably, I was going to say a fourth, but no, Tarky doesn't have enough. He's going to have to settle for the 5.7 to make sure they have some util to work with, and Rain is the one on the A1S. That is a very big round for Algo to take. Griller, the first time he's played with this ex-Heroic Academy core. He does not look out of place at all. Nukai the same. And that's kind of what you would expect, right? With Algo coming into this, with the ex-Heroic Academy players they ended up bringing into this Algo squad. They're not the top players. They weren't the top-rated players. They were the more the supportive elements in the IGL and Dengzo. And Griller and Nukai are the ones who are typically the fraggers for the Algo squad. So very interesting to see how they form this team and how they're already showing good results. Sure, not a round win. Excuse me, not a map win yet. It feels like we're heading there. Mousquetaires already got the 2-0 previously against ex-Heroic Academy, but this is a different beast in a lot of ways than that roster they defeated. Griller, here's the 20th, right? Oh, maybe not. Oh, Griller whiffing. So good up to that point. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but Jax will find that, and there's a gun picked up off the ground, certainly, or will be soon. They're just wary of the fact that there could be another player lurking beyond this smoke. And once the smoke fades, though, they'll have that rifle. Now Algo make their move towards the B site. Debuduvek completely demolished by the MAC-10. And this site under their control off of purely utility. Gonna get that plant. The AK's been recovered now. Oh, and they look for the boost. Nukai even tries to spam downwards to catch the player boosting up. Doesn't do that. And will take a lot of damage for it, but it's still a man advantage here. In a situation where the Mousquetaires, they don't have the money to go for this. They decide that they're going to fade off into the distance, save the AK and the M4 for the next round, as it will be an 11th for Algo. Thought for a moment with Griller getting spotted out on the lurk that the Mousquetaires will be able to grab that gun and make an impact on the round, but in the end, they just decide to save. Thanks to a nice play from Nukai to cut off one player. Sometimes just have to get one prong off the table. And that's enough on a map like Inferno to force the save to go through for the CTs. 2 more rounds for Algo. And they will take Mousquetaires' map pick. And they'll go on to their map pick of Train, which hasn't been good for the Mousquetaires. I think it's going to be curious, though, for Mousquetaires as well, because they don't have their usual Opera in Sixer. Now they got Rain 7, so, I mean, they've already had their struggles on Train. Does it get worse? Or maybe better? We'll see. Train, a very op-heavy map. Scrub going out here, gets the trade, and then the follow-up on the Jax. Will he get a third as well? No, he runs out of bullets, and Rain 420, excuse me, Rain 240, he capitalizes on it and gets 2 for his squad with the MP9. Survives with barely any health. They do give up the space towards the A site, and this is honestly the problem, right? There's no way they expect Nukai to already be on A because they just had that Molotov thrown from mid. All right. Nice opening play there. 2 from the FAMAS. And then the upgrade to the Galil for Devo Duvek. I mean, overall, what I was going to say was that Mousquetaires haven't had that much success in rounds that have featured full rifles. Both of their victories, let's not forget, in the second half have been with the SMGs. And uh-oh, things could get scary here. 15 seconds left. Griller and Nuka get 3 combined. Devo Duvek has to stand on his head to get 3 frags and clutch that one out because it looked like it was going to slip away. Oh my goodness, nothing coming easy here for the Mousquetaires. Look at this. Bunch of frags onto the A side and the late execute for ALGO. And if they get Devo Duvek, this is over. So no comfort buy from the Mousquetaires, which this should have been. Sure, they still get 3 M4s and, you know, they have the AK from the previous round, but Rain having to settle for the MP9 instead of having an AWP in his hands, for example. Oh my goodness. All right, ALGO going to keep the pressure on, forcing up here, a MAC-10, a couple of them actually. Tech-9, the P250, and the AK for Nukai. Nukai and Griller have been unbelievable. 42 frags combined. And this is the type of contribution you hope to get from, you know, what were the 2 fraggers as part of this ALGO roster when they brought in the supporting cast from X Heroic Academy. Well, the supporting cast and, of course, the Opper. GL Opper and support player. Nukai and Amber going to get the openers now onto A. Uh-oh, it's happening. Maybe for real this time. ALGO may get that 13th on the board. A 4v3. Guns dropped on the ground. Tarky, Rain, and Devo Duvek still standing. Rain waiting for the reinforcements to arrive. Util almost completely dry. Just a couple of flashbangs to work with. Both SMGs trying to bottle up bracket, which is actually a really effective use of them, and then keep the riflers on the site proper to cover the long-range angles. Flashbang goes in. Tarky gets one, but Amber, the immediate trade time's running up. They need to defuse this bomb and get the frags quickly. I don't think they're going to have time. Yep, it's already over. Even though the frags weren't required, they do come through. Nukai finishing with 24 and Griller onto 21 as ALGO take their opponent's map pick of Inferno 13-8. That was a fantastic performance. I mean, not forgetting that ALGO started off with a 6-0 lead before. Mousquetaires were able to get into it, but even then, it never really felt like the Mousquetaires were able to enforce their will on this map at any point in time. I mean, yes, they had that 3-round win streak, but outside of that, it was kind of like wins coming in here and there, scraping them together. Even when they were winning, it was down to one player. I mean, they couldn't get a comfortable round victory. You thought it was going to happen in the round prior to this last one, but you saw just an explosion from ALGO and able to get those 3 frags before Devo Duvek has to clutch out a round where they had the advantage. I think it was a 5v3, in fact, that whittled down to a 1v1. All right, well, I mean, look, ALGO looking good. It's a new roster, technically, formed of the pieces from X Heroic Academy and ALGO themselves. And it's looking good. What can I say? Mousquetaires overpowered there on their map pick, and now they had to train that hasn't looked good for them, you know, over the last little bit. They've lost 3 of their last 4 on the side of the Mousquetaires. 2 close results, though, against Square Sausages and Kono, 11-13 twice. And then a win against AAB, 13-7. So, I mean, they've been competitive. But if you look, let's say, for example, at the last match against the Square Sausages, at the top of the scoreboard actually was Jax. And then Sixer didn't really contribute as much as you'd like to see from an Opper on that map. If you look at the previous one up against AAB, that's when Sixer was able to get more implicated in, I think, second or actually third place in terms of frags. So, I mean, I would have to say that they want more out of their Opper. Maybe that's why Rain comes in here. Maybe that's why Rain 240 is joining up with this squad. Perhaps he can give them that additional opping firepower that they might need on a map like Train to get success. We didn't see it on Inferno, but that's not necessarily a surprise because Oppers don't necessarily find success on that map, but maybe, just maybe, Train will be a different story. We'll have to wait and see after this break to find out. All right, we're into the second map of play here between the Mousquetaires and ALGO. ALGO already have a 1-0 lead here off of their 13-8 win on Inferno. Now they're on their map pick of Train. Amber looking for an opening duel in towards the upper tunnels, and we'll get it. Unfortunately for him, he falls. Devo Duvek with those dualies. Looking to do some damage. New guy finds the trade on Devo Duvek. Tarky waiting around the corner. He hasn't really moved a muscle, just holding the line, and the crosshair placement not as good as he thought it was. Scrob will get that trade. I should say that frag, because it's a 4v3. They already got the trade before. Man advantage gained for ALGO. Still 1:05 left on the clock. And here comes Griller moving into the bomb site. Drac waiting with the USP. And the Mousquetaires, I mean, I guess they're going to allow the plant to come through. That's $600 gain for ALGO. Win or lose the round already. And Drac will get tagged down to 71. I mean, Mousquetaires need to get a move on. They need some quick frags here, at least one to even up the numbers. They throw the flashbang, but don't really activate off of it. So that allows Griller to go for a swing. Eventually, he gets taken care of by Rain 240. Nukai, Straub, and Dengzo just burning time off the bomb here. Drac will get one on to Nukai. 3v2 advantage. Dengzo manages to connect on one. They pull the player off the bomb. That should be enough. 1v1, but it doesn't matter. Bomb's going to explode. And Jack's just trying to survive. Even though he doesn't have anything to save. It doesn't matter if he wins. Excuse me, lives or dies. ALGO get that first round. And this is something, as you know, it's just a pistol round, but want to mention that when you're picking into a map like Train, you need to have a good T side, because if you don't, then things are going to be a little rough for you, right? And you see the back and forth action, the replays here. But suffice to say, if you look at X-Heroic Academy, they had a T round win percentage of 50%, although there's only a very small sample size there, up against Mix, winning that one 13-10. And well, we'll get back to it, because ALGO's just going to go out fast here towards T-Con. Jax gets the opener. It is the force buy for Mousquetaires. Now they put a pause on their advance here. You need to be careful when you go for that T-con aggression, especially when you have a CT side that knows how to toss that util and keep you at bay. Look at the ex-Heroic Academy stats on Train, even better, 3-1 over the last 3 months. Beating Rhino, Nip Impact, and X-Saber. Lost to Reason, 12-16, back on August 28th. So this is a map that, of course, the majority of the players on ALGO will feel comfortable on. Trade from Rain 240. Can't get the follow-up, though, and now that'll bring it back to even numbers. Bomb gets planted. ALGO waiting patiently, not getting over-aggressive. Drill around from Oil. A little messy on the spray. Stays alive, though. That's the important part. Here come the MP9s. Nukai will get one before he's traded himself. And I mean, down to a 2v2 again. These rounds have been very, very close HP-wise and manpower-wise in the first two. But it will be ALGO hanging on again as Devoduvek tuck and tail and saving the MP9 in armor because they won't be able to buy in this following round. I mean, for me, personally, the thing I'm most interested in seeing is once the op comes out, if Rain will be able to have an impact here on a CT side where an opera should be able to freewheel for all intents and purposes. I think the best spot for an opera to play, or best two spots, you have Connector, and then you have Ivy. Just playing from the top Ivy position, because you get visibility in towards T-Con. You can check out what's happening Ivy, although teams don't necessarily like to deploy an Ivy. It's a lot more difficult to gain space on the map than it used to be from that position due to the small changes that were made to the layout. T-Con naded immediately here for the Mousquetaires on what is the eco round for them. They don't connect on any damage. And there's that nade. It's going to land at Devoduvek's feet. Oh, actually doesn't do that much damage to him. Jax gets the opener. Devoduvek the second. Trades are good, though, for ALGO. And that's a beautiful mortar strike. Nukai finding Tarky. Devoduvek, last one standing as Nukai takes care of his teammate as well with the bullets. And Devoduvek flanked out, surrounded, eventually falls in a crumpled heap. ALGO have another 3-0 start here for a second straight map. The op is out for the Mousquetaires. I don't think that Scrub is going to get one just yet. Yeah, they're going to stick with the AKs. So we'll see. What can Rain do? Where does he play from is another question. Looks like he's at camera right now. Lots of spam and nades being deployed here towards the A site. B anchor is Tarky. He'll have the support of another rifler, Drac, coming in. So a 2-3 setup for the Mousquetaires. Time just ticking away like sand through the hourglass here as both teams not eager to take these early fights. Now a very slow approach up Ivy. Need to be careful when you're coming up here. Spam from Jax. He's got the spidey senses tingling. Devoduvek only gets one before he's traded. And that means that this two-pronged attack, both from T-Con, I should say three-pronged, T-Con, Pop Dog, and Ivy, can be effective. Drac does get an important one, though, to shut down Scraw, but look at that shot from Nukai. That is nuts! Amber supporting him. Gorilla finds a follow-up. Rain 240 does manage to strike with the AWP, but it's down to a 2v2, and he has fallen. Will they expect Drac? Probably not. Yeah, so Drac's going to get the bomb planter, but he doesn't prevent the bomb from going down to dirt. Nukai knows exactly where he is now, trying to line up the headshot. Nade goes up, but it's way too deep. Nukai finishes the job with the headshot, and the round goes ALGO's way. Nothing coming easy for ALGO, and I mean very competitive on the side of Mousquetaires. in terms of the back and forth play we've seen, but they can't seem to close out a round. And now back to the MP9s on a half buy and some pistols. Op in Scrob's hands now. A reward from that previous round victory. Oh, look at that flash. I mean, Jax has absolutely zero chance. Perfect pop flash thrown by Dengzo to set up Griller. I mean, you got to expect it, especially when you know the CTs are desperate that they're going to be trying to push Ivy. It's a common strat. And great counter util for it. 3 players on B right now for the side of Mousquetaires. And there's a lot of presence on the B site. Now all 4 are there. Nade goes out. I mean, they gambled right, so we'll see if it pays off. Tarky, beautiful shot from the Deagle, evens out the numbers. These pistols become very potent in these types of situations. Scrob does get one back, Nukai another, so we're down to a 2v2, and Nukai just takes full control, flinging his AK around like Rambo, getting a 3K. And ALGO will get a 5th on the board. So again, down to the wire. But ALGO are still able to pull it off across the finish line because of this. Look at him go. Nukai. Very nice spray transfer on 2 players. And they are up 5-0. Trying to go up 6-0 for 2 straight maps. Op is back in the hands of Rain. But it's again Nukai at the top of the scoreboard. And Griller behind him. Rain deciding to post himself up next to Oil. Ooh, spotted. Spotted. He gets the spot as well, so he realizes that that is no safe haven for him. And Amber throws the Molotov to try and prevent anyone from going for a peek here. Nukai loses the duel against Drac. Now ALGO trying to come up from T-Con. They're losing all the fights. Not really that competitive so far. They need a quick 2K to come through. And now some aggression from Tarky. Could get punished. It is. Scrob gets one. Now moves his way towards the B site. The problem is the bomb has been lost. 33 seconds left and they lose Amber as well. Could the first clean round victory come from the Mousquetaires despite the fact that they're the ones sitting at 0? It looks like the answer to that question is yes. Scrob and Griller going for the save. To keep the op and the AK up. Mousquetaires, the denial towards the A site felt like it was a little simplistic from ALGO, especially considering what we've seen so far from their T side, but that's what happens sometimes. And will be a first for Mousquetaires. That being said, 5 rounds T side is already good enough on a T side of train, right? Like, that is a very good number to find yourself at. And it could get even better, given that there's still 6 more rounds remaining to be played here in this first half. Quick util thrown for T-Con there by the Mousquetaires. And Drac gets the opener again. This is a buy for ALGO. Drac doing the work here in the opening duels that he has to. Rain lining him up and knocking him down with the AWP. Looking for the follow-up and gets it. This is the impact we were hoping to see on the side of the Mousquetaires from their big green. In rain, 240. Jax won't get any luck on his side. Griller takes his head clean off. But it's still a 4v2. Smoke thrown for Devaduvek. That might give himself a false sense of security. Okay, Griller coming on the back lines, finding Drac. Devaduvek's watching for this, and there goes the bomb. So Griller's going to have to do it all. 1 minute left to piece this together. Knows that the op was towards the B site, so he might be trying to flush that out, but now that op has repositioned. Of course, because the bomb is down. Griller may just be trying to get Scrob's op. Which actually shouldn't be here. It would be in T-Con. 28 seconds left. Has to be careful about the way he engages at this stage, because if he goes down after time, that would not be great. We'll get that frag on Devaduvek. 16 seconds left now. And realizes that this may be too far of a cry for him. Oh, actually still pushes out. Okay. Griller out to his death. Dies before time, which is, well, the important part in some fashion. And we'll get his loss bonus. But now ALGO will be on an eco. Great attempt from Griller, right? He gets a 3K in this instance. But eventually, that op's too much to deal with. Speaking of 3Ks, Rain 7 or Rain 240, whatever you want to call him. Starting off pretty well with that op. There is said eco for ALGO. Probably going to try for T-Con. Well, actually, it's a good thing they didn't. Because there's a rain of nades being showered upon that position. Tarky watching upper tunnels, gets a couple here before he goes down below half health. He's going to repeat this and pays the price. So that's an AK picked up for ALGO. Will they just readjust their attention towards the A site off of that or continue down B? They are going to put a pause to force Mousquetaires to think about this. I don't know if ALGO will be aware of the possibility of a flank. May have heard this because Griller's watching for it. It doesn't matter. He loses the bomb and the fight. So round likely over, I want to say, with the amount of map control that the Mousquetaires have. And yeah, Nukai gone. Scrob the last one standing. Nice shot for Rain at 240. 7th on the board for him. Tied with Devaduvek for that lead, but it feels like his impact may have only been started to being felt here on Train. Ninth round of play. Mousquetaires have 3 in a row. Looking to make it 4 now. No op available for ALGO. They don't have the money for it. And Rain's going aggressive into the upper tunnels. Drac, another opener. This time it's traded out immediately by Nukai. This is a nice setup towards the upper tunnels for Mousquetaires. They got the op and the AK, and no! Amber finds Tarky. And then Rain 240 falls by the wayside. Amber, the headshot, 2K for him. Drac does manage to strike again, but this may be in vain because it's a 3v2 and the B site completely lost. They're trying to get aggressive, into the upper tunnels, and Drac still gets another for himself. He has been lights out, incredible. Jack supporting him. They've only got 19 HP combined. Imagine if Griller had an 8 here. That would be crazy. But he doesn't. He's going to have to rely on the bullets. Jax and Drac very cautious about their approach, but it is crazy to me how impressive Drac has been. Not only in opening duels, but in impact. Finally, he falls. Just such a difficult fight to take. And Griller's got the right read. He will get the last. Griller clutches out the 1v2. Wasn't much health on the other side, so it was a more likely clutch, let's say. ALGO do take it. Every single round that ALGO have won has been down to the last man, pretty much. No exception here. Well played from Griller in the clutch situation. And a timeout called by ALGO to talk things over. Haven't really been able to stabilize their economy as a result of these close wins. And on the other side, the Mousquetaires, to get a clean one, a couple, let's say one clean one in that third round victory, so that lets them build up their money enough to afford a double op. Jax and Rain running those two ops. Easy to do it on a map like Train. Just send one to A, one to B, and you're good. So many long-range engagements. Instead, though, for the time being, just look at the radar. I mean, the amount of util being utilized. It's like Banana on Inferno, only like ratcheted up in intensity in the early round, because it's all going in one little square as opposed to down a long range of Banana. Anyway, Drax holding the angle here from E-Box. Ends up backing off. He's at red train now. It's a good angle to hold. Kind of a power position, but you have to be wary of the flashbangs. ALGO are taking a bit of a different approach this time. They did go down Ivy a few rounds ago. Now they send one player in that direction. There's an interesting crossfire for the Mousquetaires. Smoke's going to get tossed to isolate one of the angles, and a flashbang as well. You're seeing Jax. Full visibility. Should be able to get this. Yep, there you go. Op frag found. Now they're fully focused in his direction. Needs the support to come through from his rifler, or maybe not. I mean, he's got a lot of space between frags here, and yeah, there it is. Jack's going to collect the second. Rain 240 on the other side. It is all the AWPs in this round. Finally, the rifle gets one, but it's all down to Scrob as he gets the trade. Flashbang toss. Can he plant the bomb? Maybe. Nope, he won't. Nade's going to take care of it. What? Okay, he does plant the bomb. I thought the nade was on the money. Looked like it. Somehow, with only 25 HP left, usually when you're that close, it's like 40 damage with the nade. Doesn't happen, so a bomb plant does squeak through. Good news for the economy of ALGO at the very least. The Mousquetaires do manage to do things cleanly overall here in this round. Around the double op setup, the op's getting 4 of the 5 frags. Jax, the secondary opper, just holding the line here at Ivy. I think what's difficult in that situation is you have two players there. When the first gets dropped to the op, you have to swing quickly. Because if you give the opper a chance to chamber that round and get comfortable again, the odds of success decrease dramatically in getting that trade. And you saw it there. Perfect example of how you don't want to approach an opper. Anyway, we're on to the eco. ALGO 3 P250s, the Tech 9 with the body armor, so a bit of a raid boss coming through here for ALGO. And they're just going to send it to B. This isn't a bad idea. They haven't really tested this in the early parts of the round yet. Incendiary gets tossed by Tarky. Flashbang misses the mark. That is not the way they wanted it to land. Tarky gets 2 as a result. Trying to deny the bomb plant here. A little messy on the pistol, but will get the headshot on Yukai. Doesn't deny the plant. So mission accomplished for ALGO for all intents and purposes, as they lose all the bodies without finding a single frag. But still, there is that $600 bonus around what was effectively an eco round. So they go into the last round of play here in this first half with a full buy. Op will be able to purchase by Scrob. And as I mentioned, you know, ALGO already had done the work they need to on their T side with 5 rounds. They got 6 as well. A tied scoreline is fantastic on Train when you start T side. But a 7-5 would be that much better. Mousquetaires. The double op has been ringing true for them. Nice nades thrown by ALGO to disrupt the defense a little bit, but they don't force Jax off the angle, but he hits nothing on that shot. Rain will get it though. Duvek finds Dengzo. They try to accelerate on ALGO's side, and they get punished at every single turn. Duvek trades out Anber's frag, and Jax doing the work with the AWP. This is a very, very nice look on the defensive side from the Mousquetaires. Once the ops got out, Rain 7 and Jax doing the work. 10 frags for Rain, 11 for Jax. And they do indeed walk into the second half with a tied scoreline. Now the question becomes, is that enough? Going on to a T side that has not been very good for the Mousquetaires. Only 40% of their rounds are victories on T side of train. Let's look at their last 3 T sides here. On this map, 6 rounds against the Square Sausages, 6 against AAB, and then Kono, 4. That's getting a 7th round would have been huge for Mousquetaires if you think about it, because they're usually getting 6 rounds on T side. Yes, you know, they had that one with 4 against Kono, which was an 11-13 loss. They're really going to have to pull out all the stops to get the win here and push us to a 3rd map. Otherwise, ALGO have this one in 2. Again, we're just in the group stage right now. Opening moments of this group stage in Group D. And that means that neither of these teams will be eliminated, but of course they want to be up 1-0. Scrob will get the opener. A little messy afterwards, though. They're giving a chance to the Mousquetaires to get some breathing room, but quickly that breath is squeezed out of them. Scrob will get 3 in the round, and ALGO win the pistol just like that. 7-6, the lead back in their hands. And no bomb plant usually means no force buy, but this close in terms of the scoreline, maybe you want to try for it. It's not something that hasn't been done in CS2 in particular. A lot of these T sides are trying for it now. But the Mousquetaires aren't one of them. They will be saving. Amber spots out Jax. Can't even line up the little util that he brings into the round. And the Mousquetaires, despite just having the Glocks here, are going for a slower approach. They want to try and find the bomb plant, but I'm not sure that's going to be a possibility. Nice flashbang thrown, but they still lose 2 bodies for 1. It's just the reality of the weaponry they brought into the round, and Amber wraps up the quad. Padding the stats here in the anti-eco and jumping up to 9. Amber was pretty good for ALGO on the CT side, right? If you recall, on Inferno. Did get quiet on T side, but that's because Griller and Yukai just absolutely took control. I think it's just overall you're seeing contributions from everyone. The IGL Dengzo, don't necessarily need to see the numbers come through from him. It's more about how he sets up his team for success. My God. An absolute war zone on train in the first 15 seconds every single time. I don't know if I'll ever get over it. ALGO being held for here over at Long Dog. Tarky gets a couple. Amber only 1 in turn. So it will be Mousquetaires gaining the edge briefly here, but lots of information handed over to the side of ALGO. Yukai moves his way into the upper tunnels. Oh, but Tarky's at it here as well. Yukai wins the duel anyway. Down to a 3v3. He wants another peek at this. He wants another crack at it to see if he can get another player down to dirt. Yukai comes out and will pay for that peek. Rain 240 taking care of that. 3v2 for the Mousquetaires, and Rain's expecting another peek. He is just a statue right now, staring towards the entrance to upper tunnels. Scrob. Well, if Rain had held, he actually would have been right. But now he's got his back turned. Freebie for Scrob. Almost transfers onto Drac. But it's only 1 bullet that connects. Down to a 2v2. Time is running out for the Mousquetaires. They're trying to guess right on the bomb site, but there is no correct guess. There are players on both sites. Griller waiting here. He knows that Mousquetaires is going to be panicked to get this bomb plant. Could catch off a player as a result. It does. Bomb not planted yet either. Jack spotted out and Scrob will get the last. ALGO, they don't make it easy on themselves, but they are managing to continue winning rounds in key situations. 9-6 in their favor. It was a man disadvantage that Yukai brings back, ends up losing it afterwards, but it's that continued aggression into the tunnels at B that allows them to bring it back to even numbers, and they overlook the player on A. Goodness me. Great trades as well in spacing from ALGO. We have to give them credit in those final moments of the round. And now we're going to have a timeout that comes through. Technical timeout called by ALGO. Someone's having issues. We don't see a buy-up for Nukai or Griller, so maybe one of those two. I'll let you guys know as soon as I have information as to what's going on there. But I think what's so powerful right now for ALGO in particular is that they've been able to build up these rounds on CT side without the ops even getting implicated yet. And almost certainly Scrob's going to be running that ops soon. Right now, could be the opportunity, right? You know, drop the AK for Griller and Nukai. And then get an op drop for you. But no, they don't want to invest into it just yet. They want to stick with the rifles. Perfectly acceptable. Maybe expecting that Mousquetaires aren't going to have much on their side, and op could be a disadvantage up against these pistols. Especially a fast play. Tech timeout is over. Didn't last long. Good news for everyone. ALGO flirting with double digits now. Duvek, yeah, oh my god. Burns in his own teammate's Molotov. How does that even happen? I mean, I know he was taking damage through the panel spam, but that is just so weird. What an odd engagement to open things up. Mousquetaires trying to move their way in towards the B site. They are bunched up as a unit. This is no fake. They don't have the utility for it. They're just going to hope that they can overload with the numbers. Nukai could be at risk. Dingso's got the flashbang. He's going to throw it at the perfect time. Yeah, oh, what a swing. Nukai gets 2, does get traded, but it doesn't really matter. It's a 4v2 gained off of that, and Tarky is not long for this world. It's all up to Drac. He's been very good for his team in terms of opening duels, but outside of that, hasn't been able to contribute as much as you'd like to see, especially since we switched over to this T side. .33 seconds left. Spots out a player, and he's being surrounded. Drac is dead. It's just a matter of when and how. Drac comes out. Can't connect on his shots. Completely surrounded. 15 seconds left. There he goes. Dengso will get that frag. The bomb drops right in his lap, but it doesn't matter. The round's already over. ALGO hit double digits. Here comes the buy-up for the Mousquetaires. Haven't even needed the op on the side of ALGO just yet, but you imagine that now they're going to get it. Yes. Okay. You know, if they didn't lose any bodies, it would have been like, okay, let's keep the guns, and it's fine. But they did lose one, so there's the buy-up for Scrob. Gets the op in his hands, and let's see what he can do with that now. On the other side, Rain 240 does have the op too. Nade sent out for T-Con. Rain 240 gets the opener, but immediately traded by Amber. That's a great trade to find because, one, you know, you even out the numbers, but two, you've allowed for more space for Scrob to work with because he doesn't have to worry about the opposing opera anymore, and it'd be a shocker to see anyone that remains here grab it off the ground. Maybe Jax, perhaps. But again, you know, he's more potent with that rifle. Amber goes into support Ivy with Griller. Meanwhile, this B site being held down by the op of Scrob and the AK in Nukai's hands. This is a very potent 1-2 punch. Flashbang goes out. Mousquetaires don't really get much information off of that, though. Seem like more like flashes that want to try and draw rotations. But if that were the case, then they would hit A instead of B. Trying to piece together what the plan is for the Mousquetaires. There's a smoke thrown towards the A site. That's not really going to draw rotations, though, because they have a player waiting at Decon, so they have all the visibility. Scrop connects on one. Devil-Duvek the trade. Here comes the engagement. New guy and Amber standing tall. Amber with 2. New guy 1. And the Opera, while he only manages to get that one before being traded, he does his job. And he leaves it up to the Rifles to finish things off. 11-6 for ALGO. Nothing doing for the Mousquetaires on their T side so far. They've been completely blanked. Desperate times on their side, but they don't commit to the force buy. Even with the full 3,400, they could have gone heavier into this. But they want to get the op back in Rain's hands in the next round. And maybe, just maybe, this will be enough to get a victory as well. I mean, they got the body armor, they got the half buy. Do eat a little bit of damage there, looking to speed up the pace, and Nukai says, nope, get out of here. Scrob finds the connection as well on Drac, who tried to go in on the tail end. And a 5v3 just like that. Mousquetaires trying to make the adjustment, but the problem is they've used the majority of their util just for that opening attack. Only a nade remains in Rain's hands. Nothing really to lose by going for something here, because the whole idea behind the Mousquetaires' buy up here is that they're saving for the next one to have the full buy off the full loss bonus. Obviously, they'd like to get a bomb plant, which will just bolster their buy up. That in itself feels like a far cry. Scrop looked in the wrong direction. Maybe they can catch him off, but he's got a rifler supporting him. Missed shot. Connects on the second, though. Pulls out the pistol, and it's no problem. Scrob ends up with a 3K, and Griller supports him to ensure that he doesn't get overloaded. ALGO up 12-6. We'll have 6 opportunities to close this one out, as the Mousquetaires need an answer. There's that full buy-up. The bomb plant would have helped Rain get a full belt of util, but I don't know how much of a difference that would have made anyway. So he's on that op. Needs to hit the shots. That's what he needs to be focusing on. They're waiting for aggression to come through. This isn't a bad idea, because ALGO are about to walk into the op crosshair. Opener for Rain would be nice. Oh, but he pulls off the angle as they're pushing out, so now they have no information. Drac could get flanked out. He does. Scrob finds that frag. Oh, if he had just continued holding the angle, maybe this could have been a different round. Not over yet, but it's tough. Rain 240 does connect on 1, but they can't do it. Dengzo and Amber get 2 on back. Jax and Rain trying to maneuver through the smokes. Jax does get 1. Rain trying to support him from the back lines. They have control of the site, but he's not feeling safe planning, and he knows there's players over in Connector. Needs to win another duel. Takes a lot of damage and won't do so. It's all up to Rain. 1v3 with the op. So difficult to pull this off. Gets the first. Not traded yet. Knows that Griller's here, but he can't lock in. ALGO are going to win it out. 13-6 in their favor, and 2-0 in the series. Not a single round from the Mousquetaires on their T side, and this was the concern coming into it, right? We said that the Mousquetaires had to get a good CT side, and if they don't, they're in trouble, and they didn't get a good CT side. Being tied 6-6 is not ideal on a map like Train. You should be, I mean, standard scoreline 7-5 on CT side. 8-4 is more what you want to get, given how much this can lean in the defensive side's favor. And I mean, you just saw it. You saw what ALGO did. Absolute control from start to finish, not giving up a single round. So ALGO go to 1-0. And on the Mousquetaires side, I don't know. I didn't necessarily think that Rain performed badly on CT side with the op. Once it was in his hands, the Mousquetaires did do very well. It's just a matter of how long it took to get to that point, because they lost the pistol, and then a lot of very close rounds. Round number 4, 5, even 6, looking very tightly contested. But I think that 4th and 5th round, if it swings their way in the 1v1s, right? If one of those goes in their direction, maybe you're still looking at them fighting for on Train. But they also needed a T side that would deliver at least a round, and they didn't get that at all. 6, 7 straight rounds in that second half for the side of ALGO, and they will go to 1-0 with a chance to go 2-0 in the group stage and head right to the play-in stage. And on the side of Mousquetaires, they're going to have to win 2 for a chance to stay in it here. And you know, it's not going to be easy. There's no question. They're going to have a tough road ahead of them. Anyway, guys, we've got a long break coming up before our final match of the day. And we'll check out the schedule here one more time so we can bring that up and do a recap quickly of these matches that have already happened. And yeah, you see ENCE Academy, we talked about that, 2-0. FORZE got the forfeit win against Square Sausages. We just saw that match against ALGO and Mousquetaires, 2-0 lead, 2-0 win, excuse me. And finally, as mentioned, our last match, ARCRED against THE. That's going to be a little bit of a wait, guys, before we get there. We're looking at an hour and 10 minutes, but once we get there, we'll get an interesting matchup between two squads where I'm leaning towards ARCRED, and we'll talk about why. But again, taking the break, and we'll see ya in an hour.